you're watching this video, you're probably in the process of buying your first house, or maybe you've thought about it, or maybe you just want to watch me because I'm a cool dude. That's also a possibility. But before we go ahead and get started, this video that I made the process before you buy your first house, a checklist. My name is Tanner Shook. I'm a local real estate agent here in Minot, North Dakota. And I made this checklist because I think it's very important when you're on the process of buying your first house that you just take a step back and just think about all these topics that I'm going to talk about. If I miss a topic, let me know. I'll make a separate video on it. And also there's, on all of these topics, I'll go ahead and make an individual deep dive on the topic, just so talk about it more in length. These are just, generalized topics that I thought, work best. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that I made, and why I think it's, needs to be up top first before we get into location, price, size, style, motivation, resale value, investment, is responsibility. Are you responsible enough to own, this asset? A very, depending on how expensive you want to go, an expensive asset that has your name on it. And, one of the things I put on here is impulsive spending habits, because when you have to save for closing, right, there's down payment, there's closing costs. If you have bad spending habits, your lender's going to tell you, this, your real estate agent can tell you this, save money, save that money that you need for closing. But if you just have very extreme impulsive spending habits, like, hey, I gotta buy this, and your funds for this are dwindled away, well then, that's very irresponsible, right? Next thing, maintenance and upkeeping, because now this is your property, you're not renting anymore. Before, maybe you're living in an apartment, maybe your washer or dryer goes out, well, you could simply just put in a maintenance request. But this is yours, and if it's not under warranty, well then it's probably an expense, and maybe you could have prevented that problem doing some proper preventative maintenance. And now you have to learn a little bit more about your appliances because you own these things, right? You have to learn about your HVAC system, not super in detail, but just enough to maybe do some PM to prevent problems. And another thing is on-time payments. Are you paying your credit card bill on time? Are you paying your rent on time? Are you paying your car bill on time? Because if you're really not, then you have to take a step back and kind of look at yourself like, am I really ready to handle if I'm financing this thing $2,000 on time, $3,000 on time, $1,500 on time? Because if not, well then you might enter the terrible process of foreclosure. And maybe you can't afford it, but you're just really bad at payments, making things on time. Well, I hate to tell you, but probably irresponsible. Okay, that's why I put this up first. I think this is very important. One of the most important things that people don't really talk about. Okay, next thing, location. Maybe do you want to be close to work, like your commute? What is your driving distance? What do you want that to look like? My previous job, it was 80 miles one shot, right? That really wore on me and my body. Do you want something like that? Have you ever done that before? Maybe you want to live 10 miles away from work, maybe 5 minutes from work. Also, like maybe you want to live next to the school, so it's like in walking distance, all these little things. That's something to think about. Okay, and speaking of school, what school district do you want to be a part of? Do you want to be with, maybe it's a private school, you want to be close to a private school, even though you can probably live anywhere for that, just pay the, you don't have to necessarily live in that zoning because it's private, but maybe you just want to be close to the school, or maybe it's a public school that you really want to be close to. Something to think about. Also family. Another reason people move in general is to be closer to family. Is that something you want to do? If so, how close, how far away? Right? Do you want to live in a safe community? Would you be willing to spend a little bit more to maybe live in that safe community? Even though I'm going to talk about price, it's just something you might have to do and think about. Okay, now price. Now I put this in quotation marks. What monthly mortgage payment are you comfortable with? And regardless of the final sales price and interest rate, just step away from that for a second and just think, am I comfortable with $2,500 a month, $3,000, $2,000? Just have to take a step back and think, and then fill in the gaps to find that comfort, right? Now, there's mortgage payment, and now what about HOA fees? Are you comfortable with $2,000 mortgage plus maybe a $200, add $200 on top of that for your HOA? Are you comfortable or you're not comfortable? Something to think about if you live in an HOA property. And now cash and finance. Are you going to finance a property? Are you going to do all cash? Because if it's all cash, there's different price and terms. But if it's financing, going back to the mortgage payment, and there's a bunch of, little things that pop up on your mortgage you don't really think about, right? And one of those could be HOA fees. All right, next thing, size. How big do you want this thing to be? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What kind of square footage are you looking at? Okay. Do you want a backyard? If yes, how big? Do you want a garage with detached, attached? Does it matter to you? Something to think about. Now, lot size and acres. Do you want to maybe live out in the country and have acres, to put things and be away from people? Or if you want to live in town, how big do you want your lot to be? How big do you want your yard to be? Right? Okay. Next topic, style. What kind of style of house do you want? Does it matter to you? Does it not matter to you? Do you want a ranch, split level, manufactured? All different types of styles. Do you want to have shared walls when it comes to condo and a townhouse? Does that bother you? Does it not bother you? Okay. Now this is probably a big one right here, motivation. And now with the motivation, you can really get into the price and terms. Hopefully that works best for you, depending on your motivation. Is it want or is it need? Like, do I need to move right now, or can I wait a little bit? If you need to move right now, well, then the price and terms are probably going to be favorable for the seller because you need to get going right now, right? Or can you wait for your ideal price and terms to pop up? Okay. Or in X months I'll be ready to buy. You have that leverage for you. You can wait a little bit for the right price and terms. Okay. And now resale value and investment. Like, when you buy your first house, how are you viewing it? Are you a hands-on person? Are you a fix and flipper? Like, you can look at something and be like, I could put X amount of money into this and then resale this thing and get some, money for it. Or are you not really into that? Is that something you think about or don't think about? Are you maybe going to turn this thing into a rental? Like, do you view this property as a perfect rental? Like, I'm going to move out and then I'm going to turn this into a rental. It's not my primary residence anymore. And also, is this an ascending area for resale value, right? There's all these little things to think about. There's a lot of topics that, I probably left out. Let me know in the comments. I'll make a video specifically about it. And each one of these, I'll just make a separate video, dive really deep in depth into it. I didn't want to make this video too long, but hopefully you learned something from this. And if, all the checks, if all those check, well, that doesn't really look like a check. Now it does. If all those check, well, then you're probably, ready to buy that first property. And it's a very exciting time. It's a process, not an event. But hopefully learn something from here. If you want to see something else, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.